Welcome back to this episode about constants. Before we start, let's create a new file inside our functions and let's name it constants.php. Let's type doc, hit tab, and let's create opening and closing PHP tags. We're going to work with constants. A constant is a name or an identifier for a fixed value. So if you think that it's exactly the same as variables, you are pretty much right. But the biggest difference is that they are defined, so you cannot change it. So there are two ways how you could define a function. The first one is the function called define, and the second one is the keyword called const, from constant. So what I want to do is to start with the define function. So we've already talked about variables. So let's create a new one and call it company name and set it equal to Apple. And let's echo it out. So let's say echo company name. Let's save it. And let's go to my constant.php. And you can see that Apple is printed out. If I go right below my variable called company name and create one with the same name. So let's say company name and set it also equal to something else. So let's say Microsoft. Let's save it, refresh the browser, and you can see that Microsoft is printed out on the screen and Apple is removed. This happens because PHP reads your code per line. So on line 14, our company name variable is equal to Apple, but on the next line it's equal to Microsoft. So on all the other lines that are coming, company name is equal to Microsoft. And in order to prevent this, I recommend you to use constants because constants are very useful for storing data that doesn't change while the script is running. I recommend you to use variables when you want a value to be changed, and you use a constant when you know a value will never be changed. So in our case, we have a company name, and the company name doesn't change that often. So let's create a constant with our company name. Well, not my company name, because Apple isn't my company. And the way you do that is by using the define function, like I said. And let's also remove our echoes and string variables. The way you define a function is simply by writing down define, followed by a set of parentheses and a semicolon. A define function has two arguments. So you have argument 1, a comma, and you have argument 2. Well, we need to change them. So let's start doing that now. So argument 1 is equal to the constant's name. So let's replace it with double quotes. And inside our double quotes, we want to write down the name that we want to give our constant. So let's say company underscore name. And you can see that I'm using capitals. And by convention, constant identifiers are always uppercase. And the biggest reason why people do that is that it's easy to identify the difference between variables and constants. So let me add that as a comment too. Constants are always in uppercase. And let me add another comment, because the name of a constant has the same rules as variables. And what I mean by that is that a name must start with a letter or underscore, followed by any number or letter, or underscores. Let's continue on with the arguments. So argument 2 is the value that you want to assign to your constant. And in our case, let's use the same example as before and let's assign company name to Apple. Right now, we need to create an echo, and let's say that we want to echo out company name. Let's save it, refresh the browser, and you can see that we're getting an undefined variable. Because remember, we are dealing with constants now and not with variables. And the $sign that we used is only for variables. So let's remove the $sign. Let's save it and refresh the browser, and you can see that Apple is printed out. The second way that you can define functions is the keyword const. So let me add that as a comment. So right now, I want to create a constant with my name. So let's write down the keyword const, followed by the constant name, which is equal to my underscore name. And we want to set it equal to my name. I could also replace the double quotes with single quotes. It really doesn't matter with constants. So let's echo out my name right now. Let's save it, refresh it, and you can see that my name is printed out. So there are a couple differences, and the fundamental difference is that the keyword const, the second one that we used, defines constant at compile time, and the define function defines them at runtime. Thank you for watching this episode, and I will be seeing you in the next one.